Hello, everybody. Welcome. This is a standard costing additional problems for direct materials variances. And so if we come right over here, my disclaimer and copyright notice, the information and opinions in this presentation are those of myself and not my employers or affiliated organizations, including but not limited to Irvine Valley College and the South Orange County Community College District. This presentation is for educational purposes only and does not constitute any legal or accounting advice whatsoever. This presentation is copyright 2008 to 2023 by Bennett Tchaikovsky. All rights are reserved. Any distribution is strictly prohibited. Okay. So before we say goodbye and thank you for watching, let's go ahead and take a look at our new question here for today. So during my Accounting 1B honors class in this fall of 2023, I had an amazing class today and we set forth and created a new question. So I thought I would share that with you. So coming right over here, we have FSI manufactures t-shirts and custom apparel. To make one shirt, FSI estimates that 2 square yards of cloth will be used. FSI estimates the cost to be $7 per square yard. During the month of October, FSI produces 50,000 shirts using 98,000 square yards of cloth at a total cost of $710,500. Based on the above, what is the total variance, price variance, and quantity variance? Indicate whether such variances are favorable or unfavorable. So what we're going to do here is, remember, what we're trying to go through and do is that we're trying to basically, the whole purpose of standard costing, or one of the purposes, is in real time as we're actually going through and spending money on materials or labor, we can compare it to our standard or our budget. And when you see this part right over here, to make one shirt, FSI estimates that 2 square yards of cloth will be used. So that's really talking about the budget. But let's go through here and look at our actual. So we want to look at our actual quantity times our actual price. And this is going to help us determine what did we actually go through and spend on the materials. So this is our actual cost. And we'll make this look nice and amazing. Okay, so this is our actual materials cost. So during the month, I produced 50,000 shirts, right? That's not, the quantity here is really talking about what it takes to make a shirt. So we use 98,000 square yards of cloth at a total cost of $710,500. So this is what we actually went through and spent. Now, in order to do these problems, we're going to want to go through and as far as us determining the price variance and the quantity variance. So for us to go through and do these problems, we have to figure out, well, how much should I actually spend per square yard? And so over here, I'm going to divide over here the 710,500 divided by 98,000, and I'm going to get $7.25. So this is what we actually spent. Now, in terms of what we're going to go through and compare this to, my budgeted or my standard materials cost, might make our lives a little bit easier. So we have our standard quantity times the standard price, or SQ times SP. So right over here, so our standard materials cost. So we actually used 98,000. The question is here is how much should we have used? So it tells us to make one shirt, we estimate that 2 square yards of cloth will be used. So here we're going to say, oh, okay, I made 50,000 shirts, right? That's the actual amount I made times 2, which is basically the 50,000 shirts, or my quantity, times 2 square yards per shirt. Okay, so this is what I should have used, right? Again, this is a budget. We're doing this to kind of track ourselves in real time in terms of what's happening. In terms of the standard price, right over here, this is going to be at $7 per square yard. Okay, so I come over here and it should have cost me 700,000. So the first thing I always want to do when I have these questions is I want to figure out what is my total variance. My total variance is going to be the AQ times AP minus the SQ times SP. This is the total variance, right? So this is going to be 710,500 minus 700,000. Or over here. So my total variance is 10,500. Now, the next question you're going to get, is this favorable or unfavorable? Well, the easiest way to look at it is, well, it should have cost me 700,000. I spent 10,500 more. So this is going to be an unfavorable total direct materials variance. When you do these problems, it is extremely important that you do this part first. You want to compute the total variance. I'm going to show you why. So that's the first step we go through and do. Now, in the middle, and I want to thank Connor today for contributing with this. Connor Carlson, one of my students in my Accounting 1BH. Connor gave you the shout out as promised. We're going to call on two of our superheroes, one from the DC universe or Aquaman, and then one from the Sony or the Marvel universe, Spider-Man. Okay, so this is the value we put in the middle. So this is our middle value. And again, you want to give a shout out to Connor. I'm giving him a shout out right now. Probably won't be doing this enough. But again, Connor, thank you for the Spider-Man. Okay, so coming right over here, our middle value is Aquaman and Spider-Man, or AQ and SP. This is how we make accounting more entertaining, right? We try to do it as much as we possibly can. But this is going to be our middle DC Marvel superhero value. So I'm going to take the actual quantity, multiply this by the standard price, and this is going to give me over here the middle value. Now, when we go through this, and if you see this particular question, it's asking us over here, what is the direct materials price variance? So in order to get to the direct materials price variance, I'm going to compare these two numbers right over here. These are going to be the numbers I'm going to go through and compare. Why am I going through? Why am I going through and comparing these numbers? Because over here, why do we call this the price variance? It is because I am leaving the quantity constant, and I'm basically comparing what I actually paid versus what I should have paid per square yard. And I'm doing this against the actual amount of what I actually went through and used. So when I take AQ times AP minus AQ times SP, I'm going to get 710,500 minus 686,000. And this is going to give me 710,500 minus 686, or 24,500. Let's think about this. Is this favorable or is it unfavorable? Well, I should have spent $7 per square yard. I actually spent $7.25. This is going to be an unfavorable direct materials price variance. So that's what we're going through over here and doing. Okay. Now, in terms of my direct materials quantity variance, or this part over here now. So we're now going to compare Aquaman and Spider-Man. We're going to do this over here to the standard, or SQ times SP. Really what we're looking at here is how much of this did we actually go through and use? And this is what we call our quantity variance. So right over here, we've got basically, this is going to be AQ times SP, Aquaman, Spider-Man, minus SQ times SP. Hopefully that will get everybody to learn this once and for all. So we got over here, thank you, Connor, 686,000 minus 700,000. So over here, 686 minus 700,000. Okay, so this is going to be a negative 14,000, but I don't want you to look at this. What I want you to look at is this. I actually used 98,000 square yards. I should have used 100,000. I used less than I predicted. So this is going to be a favorable direct materials quantity variance. Okay. So I've gone through and I have identified the three different variances. Now, why did I have you compute the total variance? Because we need to check our work. Right over here, I'm going to add 24.5 to 14. And guess what? Does this equal our total variance? Does this equal right over here? This 10.5 is equal to over here our 10.5. And the answer is yes, it has to equal. When you do these questions, right? If you're taking my class, this is all I'm going to give you, right? Why is that all I'm going to give you? Do I sound like a cruel person? Maybe, but when I give my exams, like I'm pretty upfront about how I'm going to test you. So if you decide to study, you'll do okay. But if I come over here and I'm going through and looking at this, is that I can kind of see that, okay, again, the first step, compute the total variance, right? And make sure you have this part over here done correctly. We're trying to basically focus on not the units that were produced, but how much of the materials did the units actually go through and use? And so I may have to go through and back into some of the values, but this is how we go through and solve this problem. So this is, again, something extra that I went through and made up. Hope you found it useful. I look forward to seeing you on the next video. And just want to say goodbye right over here. We always look like the Ouija board. Right. Thank you for watching here today. If you have any comments, please feel free to send them to 1812cpa@gmail.com, the accounting professor, or just go through and just leave a comment in the messages below. Have a great rest of your day. I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Have a great one.